I've already got started painting. As you can see, these are nice and glossy now. They will look great once they dry. I'm taking care of all that stuff on here that was these panels that were just absolutely gross, getting ready to lubricate the chain, which has not been done in a very long time, and checking all the fluids, because nobody ever wants to get a new used vehicle and not check the fluids. You just need to. I can already tell that even though that reservoir is full, that cylinder, that master cylinder, brake cylinder, is shot. The caliper's fine, but the cylinder is shot, so I need to replace that cylinder before the rear brake will work. I've pulled the side skirts here, had a look underneath the seat to check things out, and now that I have access to the carb, I'm going to start this thing up. I'm going to spray some ether around the carburetor and see if the engine revs up, to see if we have a vacuum leak somewhere. And I have all that sea foam in the tank now, so we're going to have to slowly run all that out and see how the carb does after that. And everything looks good. It just needs a really good cleaning, as you can see. So that's what we're going to work on here, cleaning this bike up, all the dust, dirt, grime, everything's been sitting on here for a long time, bring this thing back to life. So let's lube up this chain, see where we're at, let those panels dry, and once I feel comfortable, put this bike on the road. Alright, show you guys where we're at here. Tank is off. Fixed all the turn signals now, except for this one. The rear ones were remounted right there, both sides. I got all the turn signals working now. You guys can see that. There you go. Front and rear. Got them on both sides. Got the horn working now. It's pretty weak though. I think the horn needs to be replaced. And of course, got the taillights completely functioning now. Good to go there. I still have a headlight bulb out, but I'll address that when I get an opportunity. Beyond that, oh, you can see it's really dirty in here, can't you? So there's a couple things I can tell, is that these carbs were never pulled and ever cleaned. That being said, the bike runs too good to have any serious problems. So in all honesty, I'm probably just going to pull these vacuum covers off and give them a good spray all the way down to the needle, fill them full of carb cleaner, and just let them sit, and then I'll drain the floats. So I will go ahead and 'cause obviously I have access to the floats down here on the bottom. I don't think these are going to need to be pulled. Like I said, the bike runs too good. I don't see any vacuum leaks anywhere. I also sprayed all of this while it was running with ether and got no vacuum leaks. So whatever's going on with the carbs and that high RPM idle, I think actually just has to do with a very simple cleaning of the carbs. I highly doubt they're really that dirty. But that being said, I don't think I have to pull them all the way out either. So that would be a very frustrating job, because if you look inside there, this is a bitch to tackle this job. I do know that I am going to replace these plugs. You can see the plug wires down here. I am going to replace both plugs on both sides tomorrow. While I'm in here, may as well do it. I already have access to them. May as well change the plugs. I'm assuming they're probably the original plugs, judging by how much I've seen has not been pulled apart here properly or taken apart and solved. I'm going to go ahead and say probably never been done, so I'm just going to go ahead and do it. But everything else looks fine. I'm looking at all the radiator hoses down there, everything seems to be in good shape. Radiator itself seems to be in good shape. Fans in good shape. All the wires are in good shape. Everything here seems to be in really good shape. So I don't want to tamper with things that are unnecessary to tamper with, obviously. We're not going to go that far. I am going to pull the air filter out here in a sec and have a look at that. Judging by how much dust, debris, and crap is in here, I'm going to assume that it's probably pretty gnarly inside this air intake box. And I would say the filter's probably shot to shit, which would lead me to believe that's why these carbs are not running very well, because I'm assuming the dirt and stuff has gotten inside of them. So we're going to give them a very simple cleaning. The bike's running too good to really have major issues. So let's go ahead and pull the air filter, see what that looks like here real quick. Huge fan of the power tool life, so let's go ahead and use those power tools that are available to us. There's one. There's two. Let's just get those out of the way now. Set them on the ground there. And here's three. There we go. Grab that one before it falls. Get that out of the way. Whew, gnarly. Let's try to remember how that goes. I'll just set that there, just like that. Let's have a look inside here, see what this looks like. Oh boy, this thing's really stuck. Oh my God. Oh, this is gross. Oh my God. What in tarnations? Is there oil all over this? Oh yeah, okay. This needs to be cleaned really bad. This is, yeah, very gummed up at this point. And that would be hard to get air through. Look at that. That is crazy. Wow, that is crazy how dirty that filter was. And there was so much oil in it. I'm 1000% sure this bike was having a really hard time breathing. Look at all the oil in here. Wow. This bike's been breathing hard a long time. Look at all that oil. This should have been done forever ago. Crazy. Alright, now that I know the air system is clean, we can move on to the next step, which is going to be plugs. And I believe the coils are fine because they're hitting just fine. So I'm just going to replace these plugs. We're going to pull this one. It's a V-twin dual overhead cam, so we're going to pull that one and that one on that side. Get those out, then we'll run down to the store, and I have a whole list of things I want to buy. Oil, filter, everything. This bike needs a complete tune-up. I really don't think it's had one in a very long time, judging by what I've come across so far, and I think this bike will really benefit from having all fresh fluids and everything else. I know I want to check the radiator fluid. Matter of fact, while I'm right here, see if I can pop this cap and see any in there, or if it's just water. Greenish blue. I can't tell what color it is. Looks interesting. Smells like coolant. Alright, well, I'll have to see what kind of coolant somebody put in here, because it looks blue. That's interesting. I've never seen blue coolant before. New to me. Anyways, this looks rather empty, so... Oh no, never mind. I see a bunch in there. It's either purple or blue, but I see a bunch in there, so that's good. Alright, well, that's more work off my mind. I don't see any leaks anywhere. Nothing's corroding. All these lines are in good shape. So I think we're good to go. That line is expanding. I've checked all the other radiator lines. Everything seems to be good. So the feeder lines right here, all these feel like they're in good shape. So we shouldn't have any problems. So let's go ahead and pull these plugs. We'll go down to the store and get everything this bike needs. Just to give you guys an idea, that required 2 extensions to get down there comfortably and a 16-inch socket. That's what takes it off. And don't forget, to get the plug out, you're gonna have to have a magnet. Keep your magnets handy, people. All right, we're just gonna crack one loose here. There we go. Should be a winner right there. Plug should stay down there. Set that aside. And put that down in there. Pull the plug. There she is. Let's have a look at this plug. Well, looks like the bike's running fairly okay. Not too shabby. But we're going to replace these anyways, just because I think it's time, and I think they have 20,000 miles on them. So let's do that. Well, unfortunately all they had was an auto light, and that is 4302, and the NGK is the CR8E. All they had was an equivalent at my auto part shop, so I went down and got one. And yeah, the gap on the NGK is actually wrong. The gap on the Autolite is correct. Now, I hate to put an Autolite because they're cheap plugs. I'm going to be honest with you, they're cheap plugs, and this bike probably would benefit from having NGK Rs in there again, but for this tune-up, we're just going to go ahead and put the Autolites in there for now. If I hate the way it functions, we'll go ahead and go back to a NGK R. But for this, because it's all I could get a hold of today, we're going to go ahead and just put the Autolite series in there and go from there. But it was definitely time. These plugs have a lot of miles on them, so let's go ahead and put in the new Autolite here. We'll keep the NGKs just in case I need to go back to them for whatever reason. We'll keep them, but let's go ahead and drop that puppy down in the hole there and screw it in, and we'll go from there. Everything else on this bike looks good. I don't see that the bike is leaking any oil anywhere, so that's a positive. So let's drop these down in there and screw them back in, replace them, and then we're gonna work on these carbs a little bit. We're just gonna pull the vacuum slides, drain the fuel out of them. So I'm actually gonna put these back in. We're gonna run the bike until it runs out of fuel. That way I know both float bowls are empty, and then we can start working on the carbs a little bit. So let's get this done. While the carbs are sitting, we'll go ahead and drain the oil and replace all the oil in the bike. I did pick up a new filter, K&N, and some synthetic. I looked up on the forum and saw that 90% of the people running this bike now have switched to synthetic wet clutch. As long as it meets the API call, you're good to go. So we're going to go ahead and change it over to some full synthetic. That'll really help this bike's engine and clutch, I think, for the future, as well as the internal components. They will really enjoy that synthetic oil. So alright, let's put this Autolite in. Second one's definitely a lot harder to work with. Here's the new Autolite. I don't know why it's not focusing, but it's not. There's the new Autolite. There's a lot more stuff congested in the way, so I'm going to actually drop this one back down in here with the magnet. I don't know if you guys can see. It's really difficult to get to, but there you go. I don't know if you guys can see that. Can you see that? There we go, off into the hole. It's a lot harder to hit this, and now I'm going to see if I could disconnect this from there like that. There we go. So that drops down. Now I can go ahead and, you got to be smart, man. The right tools for the right job. Now I can detach this head here, drop that down in there like so with the piece on there. Get that down into there. There we go. We'll twist this lightly just to make sure we're not cross-threading it until we get it in. Beautiful. I can feel it tightening now. And then putting that boot back on is going to be difficult without tearing everything apart. But if you're careful, guys, you can do this without taking everything out. It really simplifies your life. You know, my objective is not to tear the entire bike apart, obviously, during this repair or this fix, and or I should say tune-up. So just be slow, careful. Go until this is tight, and then you have to seat the spark plug until it's nice and tight. There it is. It doesn't spin anymore. So now we can reverse this here. Get my impact driver. Just going to use it like a wrench for the moment. Seating the spark plug now. I can tell when it seats because it's crushing that gasket right now. Once it crushes, it'll make it a lot harder to pull on this. Almost there. That's about all you want on it right there. I'll pull that out, and I'll put the boot back on it. Fresh plugs in this puppy. Let me fit that boot back on there. Like I said, I have to go from underneath and to the side and over the top. This is a pain in the ass to get this back in there, but here we go. All right, both plugs back in there. Everything looks good. So now we're gonna go ahead and start this thing up. I'm gonna add a little bit of choke. We're gonna run the rest of the fuel out of the carbs that are in here. That way we can pull these vacuum slides, spray in there with carb cleaner, and let it sit overnight. And then we'll evacuate the carbs on the bottom through the float, let all that carb cleaner out of there. Hopefully a bunch of gunk comes out with it, or any debris that might have been just chilling in there. Hopefully that carb cleaner does its job. And then I think after I change the oil, this bike should be ready to roll. So let's crank her up here. You can tell the vacuum coming from here. We'll just cover the vacuum for now. There we go. Got the choke on for the moment. Alright, come to this side of the bike here. You can see I got all my stuff ready. I'm going to show you what's going on down here. So that's the oil drain spot, and that is for the filter. As you guys can see, just screws off, probably spring loaded if I had to take a guess. Could be wrong, but probably spring loaded, which will be kind of an annoyance, but it is what it is. So we're going to go in here, and first we're going to drain this. And then we're going to drain that. And then we'll replace the filter. So let's figure out what size this is. If I had to guess, probably a 17 or an 18. Might even be bigger. Oh, 17. Right on the money. This oil was not as bad as I thought it was. Definitely has a few heat cycles on it, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. It looked really black behind this door, which had me a little skittish of what was going on here. So anyways, decided to drain it. We are swapping over to synthetic. I can tell this is not synthetic oil, and yeah, so I would really rather run synthetic oil in this bike. That's moving forward, that's exactly what needs to happen. So there you go. You can see it draining off the oil filter drain area. We're gonna wait, let that run its course, and then we'll take the rest out. So even though this came with new O-rings, I'm just going to save these. The ones that are on here still look just fine. So there's the old filter. Going to move that out of the way here in a sec, and we're going to screw this one back in. Pretty easy change, honestly. But yeah, so let's pop this K and N in there, and then we'll refill the oil in the bike, and then we'll start on the carb, and we'll go from there. Alright guys, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to lay on this side of the bike here. I'm going to hold it up with one arm. I'm going to open both of these oils. I'm going to go until I see when the bike is upright that the oil is at the halfway point. So that's basically what we're going to do, right? And if you remember, I did do the filter on this change. So even after I get this filled up to the halfway point, I'm still going to go a little past that because the oil filter will not have oil in it. So I can do this one of two ways. I can do it now, fill it up, right, to the halfway point, wait until I get the bike and the carbs worked out, then run it, then let it sit and see where it's at after it fills the oil filter area, or I could just go a small amount past it and I'll be just fine. It won't affect the bike. So what we're looking for is the halfway point, basically. That's where this bike wants to sit at when it's upright. So I'm going to tilt this bike up. Just be careful, it is a 370-pound machine, so it's kind of heavy. And I'm just going to watch the oil as it goes in here. Going to slowly pour. Once we get it running here in a little bit, we'll check the rest of the oil and see where we're at. Deal? Deal. I'm going to show you an easy way to do this because it's constricted. Obviously, they want you to take it to a shop, pull the carbs out, blah, 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 blah. To get to these heads without stripping them, that's where a tool like this comes into play. These will fit back here easily like so, and you could just crack these loose without having to worry about this bar being here. Having the proper tools makes the job go a lot smoother. Then you can lightly either put your screwdriver on top and back them out once they're loose carefully like so. They come out real easy. Or like me, I'm going to speed the job up slightly with a little electric drill, and I'm going to put my magnet on the end of the tip to make sure the screw doesn't fall into the body. So proper tools speeds the job up. Let me get these out. We'll have a look at the vacuum slide here and the vacuum slide here and see where we stand. Alright, so went ahead and put the vacuum lid up there, and we're gonna inspect this vacuum slide. It looks fine, feels good, but we're gonna pull it. I'm gonna be careful because there's probably something on the end of this here. I would assume something to hold the needle slide. Yep, there you go. Let's give that an inspection here. Smells normal. Go ahead and set that up there for now. And I think it's time to pull this slide out here gently. See where this lines up at. No line up groove, so we're just gonna give a light pull here. Here she comes. There you go. Let's have a look at that slide. Oh man, some gross stuff around the edge there. See all that? We're gonna clean all that up. Okay, all on that lip there. You guys can see that all on the lip. Yeah, okay. We're gonna clean inside this slide area. It's definitely a little dirty in there, so yeah, we're gonna clean all that up. Alright, give me a sec here. I'm gonna get my plastic brush because that's what this is gonna require. We will not be using a wire brush on this. We'll be using a plastic one and some carb cleaner, and see if we can first get this blasted out and cleaned off the top. You know, look at that, man. So yeah, it's pretty gross stuff in there, I'd say. Alright, just so you guys are aware, the vacuum problem I think I've been having would be due to a lot of this corrosion buildup inside this carb. It's obviously been allowing air to escape, and the vacuum system has not been able to work properly with these carbs. So this was a must cleaning this. As you can see, I've already finished 90% of cleaning around this whole edge, and now we need to actually clean the slide itself, because you can see all that. Damn it. Alright, well, I gotta grab that. Luckily it fell through, but yeah, the needle just fell out. Gotta put the needle back in now. But that being said, yeah, this whole inner edge ring on this thing is corroded. That would be a huge reason why we're having vacuum leakage. So, yep. Let me finish spraying and cleaning this out, and then we're gonna stick a wire inside the jets and get that going. I just want to make sure this has a really good scrape down before I put all this back together. So that's what we're doing. Just to give you guys an idea, that's what it should look like after it's been cleaned. You shouldn't have any corrosion on there whatsoever. It should be nice and clean all the way around. So, yep. Now it's time to poke that needle. We're going to stick something down all the way down into the jet, way down in there. Make sure that's not clogged up. So I got to do that, and then we'll give the carb a thorough spray down so everything's up there now, waiting to go back in. We're going to give this a thorough spray down again. I'm going to wipe the inside of this down a little bit, and yeah, whew, damn, man, there was a lot of corrosion buildup on there. That means that's been leaking for a little while, so hopefully this solves that problem. Now this is a pretty large jet, so as you can see I have a paper clip. I'm gonna shove that right down in there, if you guys can see. We're gonna get that right into that hole down there, if I can get it. And we're gonna plunge it a little bit, make sure there's, I don't want to jam it real hard, but we're just gonna make sure there's nothing in that hole. Seems to be going all the way down and in, which is good. I'm going to throw this out there, but this one's definitely a lot more of a pain in the ass to access. This one has connectors all put to it, synchronizing cables, and the petcock system, or the vacuum system, sits on the side of it. So just make sure you're paying attention before you pull this off, everything that's going on here. So this one's ready to be removed. Like I said, this is a pain in the ass to do this one. There's a bunch of vacuum lines connected. Make sure you're paying attention to where the vacuum lines go before you start disconnecting things. But yeah, so let's pull this one open, see what's going on inside this guy here. As I suspected, this one's just as bad. Look at all that buildup inside there. This is what ethanol fuel does to systems like this. Let's pull this out carefully. have a look at what's going on with the needle inside of here. Oh, just as grimy, just as dirty, just as nasty. So there you go. More vacuum drive problems. See all that corrosion? It's all over my fingers now from touching it. Yep. Okay. So, good times. There you go. That's what that should like cleaned with all the corrosion out of it and all the gnarly stuff that was in there. Now we're gonna take this, and of course we're gonna poke the needle, make sure it goes all the way through. The idle on this thing's perfect, but it's been having vacuum and gas efficiency problems, so that's what we're working on right now. Hopefully we don't have to tear the entire carbs out of this bike. We'll know here pretty soon whether everything I did was a positive for this bike or not. But right now we gotta clean all that corrosion off this so that it can make a good vacuum seal. So first let's poke down the jet, and then after that we'll clean it, and then we'll slap her all back together, crank up the bike, see where we're at, and hopefully this thing's ready for the road. All right, all cleaned, ready to go back in now. Hopefully the bike works a little better after that spray down and redoing the vacuum seals, because that was pretty bad. They were raised up really high. I think some air was escaping and leaking past the system, but we'll see here. We'll see. I'm gonna spray a few things while I have them open, like for instance here and here. While I have these out, I may as well spray down these tubes, hopefully free up anything, and yeah, we'll go from there. Okay, well, I didn't quite beat the rain, but it is what it is. Bike should be ready to go now. Oil changed, everything, checked all the fluids, all good across the board. Blinkers are working, brake lights working, plug change, new filter, new K&N oil filter. Did a simple cleaning of the carbs in hopes of fixing the vacuum problem, which I'm assuming I did just because of how bad these were corroded. It was lifting up the vacuum seal, and hopefully that solved that problem. Then went through the main jet, pushed that down, so these have been sprayed now, and I think we're ready to slap this bike back together. But first we're going to put the tank back on it temporarily just to start it up and see what she does. But this is, anytime you get a used vehicle, you should always go through the system and do this type of stuff. Make sure everything is up to par. I may even do the clutch on this still, because it's only $30 for new clutch plates and friction plates. And I don't know, how bad they've been tearing on this clutch. I did reset this back to a 1. He had it at 6, and now it's at a 1, so it's a little easier to squeeze. Hopefully that makes it a little easier to shift. I need to figure out if that's good to go or not. But right now, everything on this bike is completely done, so we're going to slap the tank back on there and see where we stand, get it running, and see what it does. Okay, the tank is just kind of sitting up there. I've got it on. I primed the carbs now, so let's see what this takes to get this thing started. I'm going to add some choke now because we ran everything out. Let's see where we're at here. Turn the choke off here. We'll give her a little bit of fuel. There, she's almost going. I can smell all that carb cleaner burning off. Carb cleaner. Yeah, it's burning crap out of there, you can see it. Carb cleaner going through the system. Foam in here, so it's always going to produce a little bit of smoke while it burns off all that sea foam. It's idling like perfect now, but I'm starting to think that this 250 idle up thing is actually just part of this engine, which is fine. It still needed that little carb clean. And I think as I keep running seafoam through it, it'll probably get better and better. So we're just gonna do that, I think. 'Cause right now it's idling like perfect. It's taking throttle easily. So I think it's just the 250. I think this is how the 250s are, I guess. I'm gonna check the charging system. I'm gonna see if I can get that to stay there. There we go. Yeah, charging system's working great. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. So I can turn the idle down slightly. That's a little too much idle. I think she's ready to rip though. I think that's as good as this machine's gonna run. The red line's at what, 13,000? Sounds healthy. Sounds good. I'm mad. Every time I do a project like this, I always lose a screw. I lost one of the gas tank screws on the other side. Grr. Power tools are your friends. Don't ever think they're not. Love your power tools. Now we can give this bike a really good cleaning before we put it on the road, because it needs it. Alright, she's all back together. The new panels I spray painted look awesome, as I suspected they would. She's ready for a thorough cleaning. And so there's only one thing left to do on this bike. I gotta order the brake master cylinder for back here, and she'll be done. So other than that, it's just a really good cleaning, brake master cylinder, and she's ready to rip on the road. Yes, sir. Sounds beautiful. Just topped off the rest of the oil. As I suspected, it was a little low, so we put some more in there. She's ready to go, kid. She's ready to go. Turn signal's all working now. Everything's good. Yep, yep, yep. Sounds beautiful. The idle is just perfect right now. So we just got to give her a really good wash down now, and she's done. I don't get excited for much, but it makes me excited. Bam!